Okay, so we are wondering what this third script tag is all about. If we make a small quick revision, we remember that the first script tag contains a link to the library, which will translate the jQuery into JavaScript, the jQuery from the Cycle plugin into JavaScript for the browser to understand it. The second script tag contains the plugin, and the plugin is a file that we have in our JS folder. And the third script tag right here is used to call a function. And what a function is, basically, it is a bunch of code that does something. So let's explain what this code here is basically saying. It's basically saying that every time the page is loaded, the function cycle is going to be called, and it's going to implement whatever is between the curly braces, right? You see those curly braces, this curly brace and this curly brace. Whatever is between the curly braces, which is the fade effect in this case, which we can change to horizontal scrolling, we can change to zoom, we can change to the effect that we want. The effect is the least important thing at this point, right? So every time the page loads, the function cycle is going to be called, and it's going to implement whatever is between the curly braces on the element whose class is slideshow. How do I know that? Because I see a dot, right? And the dot tells me that there's a class, and the value of the class is slideshow. That's it. So if you understand the narrative, all you need to do is copy this code, paste it, and then do the same thing. But before doing that, let's look below in the file, in this file. So every time the page loads, the function cycle is going to be called, and it's going to implement, so it's going to implement the fade effect on the element whose class is slideshow. Let's look down at the page. Is there an element whose class is slideshow? Indeed there is. It's this div. There's a div whose class is slideshow. So every time the page loads, the cycle function is going to be called, and it's going to execute the fade effect on this div whose class is slideshow, which contains images. So these images will fade in and out, which is the case that's happening right here, right? So all we need to do is just copy the script tag, go to our index.html and paste it, and then make sure you indent properly. I'm going to indent all of these at the same time. So select them all, hold down the command key, and hit the bracket key. The bracket key is the one that has the right curly brace. So the right bracket or the right curly brace. Once and twice. That's it. And then save. Okay? Now, let's continue observing. So there's a div whose class is slideshow. By all means, it should exist because the function is being called and being applied on the div whose class is slideshow. So we have to create a div whose class is slideshow, and we have to provide these images. So let's do that. We already have our main image, which is this big, nice image of the snowy chalet and so forth. So let's go ahead and place it in a div. Open the div, close the div, indent, and give the div a class slideshow. Okay? But we need more images. And those images are provided for you in the D2L module. And so you can just add them into your images folder. So please do that. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this 4 more times because I have 5 images in total, and then just change the names. Let me see the names of those images. So the first is Chalet Morin, and the rest are 2, 3, 4, 5. So Chalet Morin 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's save this. So what I expect to see now is when I refresh the page, which means when the page loads, the function cycle is going to be called, and it's going to implement what we see between curly braces, which is the function, the effect fade. It's going to implement what's between the curly braces on the element whose class is slideshow. We already created that element, and so these images should fade in and out. Let's save and refresh our page. Okay, that's our fade. Beautiful. So our fade is working, our cycle plugin is working. We're there. So now the rest is, it's easy. If you don't want the cycle, the fade effect, if you want a horizontal scroll, you just replace with a horizontal scroll. That's all. Let's see how we can do that. If you go back to the cycle plugin and go back home, under Effects Browser, so what we have is fade right now. Maybe you want fade zoom, maybe you want grow X, whatever you want you choose, but I would like to choose the scroll horse, and I'm just looking at this list in order to know how to type this. So scroll horse, let's go ahead and do that. Instead of fade, you can write scroll horse. Save and refresh the page. And hopefully we will see a horizontal cycle now. Okay, that's the horizontal cycle. Okay, so step one was having the cycle to work, so that's great. But we also want captions, and we want the captions to cycle, each caption to cycle with its own image, and we also want to build a pager. Now let's put the pager to the side for the moment and let's work on the captions. So what would we think about? How would we insert the captions? If it should move with the image, then it probably, or most definitely, must be in this group because the function cycle is being applied on an element whose class is slideshow. So it should belong somewhere here, right? Let's say I insert a caption right here. So if I say, for example, I put the caption in a div, and let me give this a class because I know that later on in CSS I want to style the caption so that they all look alike. Div class caption, and I'm going to call this snowy scene at dusk in Chalet Morin. Okay, let me just see, I'm just testing now. I just want to see where this appears on the page. So save and refresh. Okay, you see the problem now, right? The caption is right here. And that's not what I wanted. I wanted the caption to cycle with the image, not after the image. So logically what's happening here is I place the caption as the second element to cycle, so it comes after the image. Whereas if I want it to cycle with the image, what should I do? We can put them both in one div, right? So let's go ahead and put each image and its own caption in its own separate div. So create a new div, close that div, and then indent those so we know they're the children of that div. And let's give this div a class slide and do the same for all others, right? So what I would do is copy this whole thing, replace with those images once. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I can change the image names to 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you want, we can change those, those captions. The second one is, I don't know, beautiful sunny morning. The third one, what was the third one? So this is snowy scene. We should fix this word chalet. Snowy scene is this one. And then we can say comfy bedrooms. And then nightlife or something. Okay, so comfy bedrooms. At this point, you say what you want. French nightlife. And then I am such a great skier. Save and refresh. And you see the captions right here. Okay, so now it's great because the captions, each caption is under the image and they move with the image. That's because we placed each caption and the image in a separate div, right? Each caption and the image in a separate div.